Hello everyone, this is your host, your friend, your boy, Jet Black, the one and only, here with another exciting video. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about Wonder Woman 1984. So Wonder Woman 1984 is a sequel to the first Wonder Woman movie in the DCEU, but it's a prequel to a lot of the other films in the DCEU, as it's essentially just another prequel movie. I don't know why all the Wonder Woman movies are prequels. I've watched Wonder Woman 1984 twice now, and I have compiled over 84 notes on Wonder Woman 1984. In this video, I'm mainly just going to read over all my notes. I'm not going to go into too much detail on each note. I'd prefer to do that in a discussion-based setting. So I'd love it if anyone has any questions or thoughts on any of my notes. If you leave a comment in the comment section below, or if you DM me on Discord, I'll have a link to the Discord in the description box below. I'd love to talk to someone about all of these notes as a video. I already kind of have done that a little bit with my friends Ryan and Michelle. However, we didn't record it. And also at that time, I'd only seen the movie once. Now I've seen the movie twice, so I have tons of thoughts on the film. But without further ado, let's hop on into these notes. I highly recommend that you turn on some music or something to play in the background, because I personally am not going to play any music. The reason why is because I know everyone has different music taste. So feel free to open up Spotify, SoundCloud, whatever music platform that you use. Turn on your favorite playlist, or maybe turn on the Wonder Woman OST, because the OST is pretty good. And just sit back, relax, and enjoy as I go through these notes. And feel free to pause after each note, think about it a little bit. See if you agree or disagree with it, and let me know in the comment section below. I want to have a legitimate discussion with you guys on your thoughts on the movie. Also, of course, spoilers. The whole video is me going over my movie notes, so I'm definitely going to spoil stuff. So note number one. The scene at the beginning with Wonder Woman competing in the Amazon challenge as a child feels unnecessary. It seems like it was put in the movie to specifically act as a way to make the beginning of the movie more exciting, which plenty of films do stuff like that. The scene also is supposed to enforce the message of the power of truth, but it does it in an odd way. The movie doesn't really explain the rules of the Amazon competition well, so when Wonder Woman gets in trouble for cheating and is told that the message, and then she's told the message that the power of truth is greater than the power of deception, it is hard to tell if Wonder Woman actually cheated or not. Because what happens is that they do a whole bunch of crazy stuff throughout the competition, and you're just kind of following along because, like I said, they don't really tell you the rules. And there's a moment where Wonder Woman falls off her horse, and then she has to find a way to get back onto her horse, and she doesn't hit one of these targets that people are shooting as they're riding around on their horses shooting all the targets. And nothing about the target shooting felt like it was a required thing. I know everybody was doing it, but they had this weird point system going on where there's a big flag, and your flag gets lower and lower as you get more points. But it seems like the way that you win the competition isn't even points based. It's whoever throws their spear through the hoop at the end of the race. So I was like, oh, well, if she didn't hit the target, maybe she didn't get a high score, but she still would have thrown the spear through the hoop because it's all you need to do to win. But I thought it was weird that it was you cheated because you didn't hit the target in the horse race. It's is it that really that important? It's just kind of weird. But anyways, I think that if the contest had a greater connection to the overall plot of the film, and if the rules of the contest were described in more detail, then the scene would have been a lot better in my opinion. Because I think the issue is that you don't really know that Wonder Woman cheated until she's called out for it. And then Wonder Woman immediately is what? This is an outrage. You stopped me from winning the thing. I would have won if you didn't stop me. And then they're no, you cheated. So technically you didn't win or whatever. And they keep telling her something along the lines of you didn't win because you're not ready to win. And that also confused me because it seemed less like she cheated and more well, you're a little kid competing against a ton of adults and you're not going to style on all these adults like that. So we're just not going to let you win. It didn't really feel like it had anything to do with cheating. Weird. Just a weird way to start the movie. And to be honest, this is a gripe that I didn't have until I watched the movie a second time. And then I was like, oh yeah, like what is the point of this whole scene other than to be hype, I guess, for this very low stakes competition where you don't even know what you get if you win? Like we don't know what Wonder Woman really missed out on by not winning the competition in the first place. So weird. Overall, just kind of weird. Okay, second note out of like my 84 notes or whatever. The first scene also kind of establishes the existence of the great Amazon warrior, whose armor plays an important part in the film later on. Well, kind of important. The armor doesn't really seem to help Wonder Woman that much in the long run. So, like I don't know if the armor is really that important, but at least we get to hear a little bit about the great Amazon warrior that the armor is from at the beginning of the movie. To be honest, when I first watched the film, I only said, oh, cool, that statue looks like the armor or whatever. I didn't think about it too hard. Note number 3. The movie seems somewhat unnecessarily in the 1980s. It kind of works since it does capitalize on the idea of the 80s businessman with the villain Max Lord, and it does capitalize on being set around the time of like the Cold War. But we have nukes now, and we have like weird instability now to where, you know, if we think someone's going to nuke us, it could potentially cause like a nuclear apocalypse. And we have megalomaniacal businessmen now. You know, like nothing really stops Wonder Woman 1984 from just being set in the present day, except they wanted to do another prequel. And this is a gripe that I have with the first Wonder Woman movie. I don't like that they keep setting up these prequels because Man of Steel has this big push of being like, this is the first time that anything like super weird has happened. The way that the world is reacting is not like, oh, this has happened like so many times before. Oh, we've faced like superhuman beings and like near apocalyptic level events in the past. So the more superhero movies they set before Man of Steel, the weirder Man of Steel is. Because why does everyone react as if none of this crazy stuff has ever happened before, especially if it's happened within like recent recorded human history? I had an issue with Wonder Woman, the first one, being set in World War One, because that's not that long ago at all. 1984 is even more recent, and it's even more egregious to suggest that people, for one, don't know who Wonder Woman is, and two, that they like don't know what like magic is, or that like the world's never faced some like weird, crazy apocalypse. We'll get into that more. Long story short, for this particular note, the movie could have been set in the modern day, and a lot of my issues with the movie probably would have been resolved, because a lot of them directly have to do with the film being a prequel. Note number 4. Were the goons at the beginning of the movie hired by Max Lord? Because at the beginning of the movie, there are these goons that are robbing like a jewelry store, and in the back of the jewelry store, there are all these like ancient artifacts and stuff. They're doing like black market dealings. And we know that Max Lord is like trying to get his hands on this wishing stone so that he's able to like become as powerful as possible, essentially. He just goes on like a crazy like power scaling rampage, I guess, where he has to just keep one-upping himself to where he like becomes the most powerful person in the world. So I can't tell if those goons were hired by Max Lord specifically to steal the wishing stone, but he was like, make it look like it's just like a really big robbery where you're stealing everything so that people don't get suspicious about why you would like specifically steal the wishing stone. But I guess it's odd, because later when they go to Max Lord's office, they notice that he has like a newspaper clipping that's about the robbery failing. And I guess what's weird is I don't know how Max Lord learned that they had the wishing stone at the Smithsonian in the first place. Like, did he know that the wishing stone was at the back of the jewelry store? And then did he like, because he doesn't have any money at the beginning of the movie for real. He's just kind of like hey guys, I own a business and you should join my business. I'm on TV advertising for you to join my like investment business or whatever. So he's famous, but he's not like rich. So maybe he knew the wishing stone was like in the back of the jewelry store or whatever, but he didn't have enough money to actually like buy it, but he did have enough money to hire people to steal it. and then it got botched, and then he heard about it in the news, and for some reason he decided to cut out the article and save that instead of just having the whole newspaper, which you can also do. I don't really understand that. And then he goes, well, the newspaper says that the Smithsonian now has all those artifacts, so now I have to go to the Smithsonian and I have to say that I want to be a partner with them. Wait, no, he does have money because he donates money to the Smithsonian in order to become like a partner so that he can get a tour of the place so that he can get closer to the stone. But then he also holds a gala that he attends. With what money? How does he do that, actually? Because I can't tell if he's like rich, but not as rich as he wants to be. Because later we learn that he's struggling and everything. It's really weird. But I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, do the goons at the beginning have anything to do with Max Lord at all? Or does Max Lord only really get involved with the plot, like, once the goons are, like, caught and the newspaper article thing comes out, and it's like, hey, all these items are at the Smithsonian. And does the newspaper article, like, say, and a weird stone that matches the description of the wishing stone is at the Smithsonian? Like, I still don't get how he knows that it's there. So that's why this is kind of important and why I'm, like, dwelling on it. Because it's a thing where if Max Lord doesn't know that the wishing stone is at the Smithsonian, why would he, like, do really everything that he does in the movie in order to get so close to the Smithsonian in order to, like, find the wishing stone? You know what I mean? We know that he's been researching the wishing stone for a long time. Steve Trevor says as much when they're in Max Lord's office and looking through, like, all his documents that he keeps out in the open for some reason. But I don't know. To me, that's just weird. They might be connected. It's just something that's never explained. After watching the movie twice, I don't think they ever straight up say that he was or wasn't connected to the goons. But I think it would kind of make sense because it would establish how Max Lord knows that the Smithsonian has the wishing stone. Note number 5. The one goon who drops his gun during the jewelry store robbery and almost kills the kid is, like, really, really incompetent. But when he drops his gun, I'm surprised that the woman who sees it just screams, "He has a gun. Oh man, a gun." Because it's like a weird take, I would say. So maybe this is just like an Alabama thing, but I have friends who have, like, concealed carry permits and they just have guns. They just go to places and they have guns on their person. It's a thing that you can do. And maybe it's like an 80s thing. Maybe I don't know how, like, gun laws worked back in the day, but she sees the dude and he's carrying a bag and he's fumbling with the bag. He's having, like, a whoa moment or whatever, and it seems like he's about to drop the bag. And her thought process is like, oh, this guy needs help. You know, he's fumbling. Maybe he's having trouble with the bag. Maybe I'm going to assist him. And when the gun falls, she doesn't go, oh, well, he is just actively fumbling with the thing. You know, maybe during all the chaos of him being like, whoa, he just had a gun and the gun fell off of him kind of thing. It doesn't have to be a thing where he's, like, robbing the store or a thing where he's trying to use the gun to hurt anybody. He just could have dropped a gun. And that would have been it. So it's just interesting, for one, that she screams, "Gun, he has a gun." And two, that everybody freaks out. Everybody freaks out and it becomes a thing where, like, the guards show up and they have guns. Because to be honest, the dude could have tried to play it off and just be like, nah, have, like, a concealed carry permit. Or he could even go as far as to be like, I do have a permit for the gun. Forgot the permit, forgot I had the gun on me. So used to just having the gun, forgot I had it. Fumbling with bag. Let's say, he could even say something like, I tripped a little bit. I was trying to fumble with the bag. Drop the gun. He could be like, I'm so sorry. Big misunderstanding. And that would have been it. Like, I think he could have just gotten away with it. And that would have been fine. Because I don't think the jewelry store would have ratted him out, to be honest. Because they were doing illegal stuff anyways. So what were they going to say? Oh, he stole our illegal black market goods. Help, security. You know what I mean? So it's just weird. It's just a weird scene. I'm also surprised that like one of the goons was like, "Well, I didn't get caught with a gun. I'm just gonna chill here." And then the other goon runs up to him and says, "We can't hide anymore. We gotta run." And then the dude goes, "Ah, well, I guess, he's running, I'll run." He could have gotten away with it too. He could have, like, his plan to just chill and not run like an idiot, good plan. Should have just stayed there. And if someone approached him like, "Hey, that man with the bag that looks like your bag, he talked to you. What are you guys connected?" You could just say, "No, similar bags. What did he say to you?" I don't know. Wasn't really paying attention. Mass hysteria. Everybody else is running around. I was trying to figure out what was going on. And then they would have just left him alone, I think. Is weird situation. Weird situation. Anyways, note number 6. Did the black market inside of the jewelry store know the power of the wishing stone? Because later on, when it's taken to the Smithsonian, Cheetah, Barbara Minerva, her character, she's looking at the stone and she's like, "This is just a citrine crystal." Citrine being like a real kind of crystal, by the way. And she's like, "That's only like maybe like $75 worth of citrine or whatever. Like there's nothing special about this crystal." And then Wonder Woman can read Latin and she can read that it like can grant you one wish or whatever. Why does the black market of the jewelry store carry what to the average person is just a $75 like chunk of citrine that even like a professional like gemologist, because that's how Barbara Minerva describes herself, would just say, "Yeah, this is trash." You know what I mean? So it seems like the black market behind the jewelry store knows there's something special about this citrine. They know that the wishing stone has something going on that makes it more worthwhile than $75. Because if you've ever been to a jewelry store, they have tons of pieces in jewelry stores that are worth well over $100 or hundreds of dollars. Why in your black market section in the back would you have a $75 rock? It seems like they knew what it was to a certain degree. And if that's the case, then did they have just a whole bunch of other magical artifacts in the back? Like, out of all the stuff that was stolen, was the wishing stone the only thing that was like actually magical? Or could you potentially spin off from like Wonder Woman 1984 and be like all that other stuff that also just had some kind of like weird power, maybe lesser to that of the wishing stone, but still like could be used in some capacity in like a future film or have like a villain like come after kind of thing? Because it'd be weird if that black market happened to just have one magic item. And if they did know that it was like some kind of like super powerful wishing stone, did they use it at any point? There's this weird thing in the movie later on where they're like, everyone needs to renounce your wish everywhere. And it's like, you're telling me that there wasn't anyone before then who had like made a wish who would still need to renounce their wish? Like that also just seems weird to me. Just food for thought. Just something to think about. Okay, note number 7. Why does Wonder Woman destroy the cameras at the mall after she makes her dramatic entrance? Destroying cameras doesn't actually destroy the footage, and Wonder Woman swings through the center of the mall before she destroys the cameras. So, essentially, people would have just checked the footage because, for one, there was like a robbery, and two, everyone's reporting seeing this like woman wearing crazy armor who like kicked a bunch of ass with like a magic lasso. They would just look at the camera footage and they would see Wonder Woman swinging in with the lasso. They would just have like video evidence of Wonder Woman because, like I said, destroying the cameras doesn't actually get rid of the footage. Weird. Number 8. Wonder Woman dropped the criminals from a rooftop and onto a car, which could have just very easily killed those goons. Like she tied them up and she just drops them from above on a car. And I just think they like could have died fairly easily. Think about like car accidents where you like crash into something and like the airbag doesn't go off. Like people can like wrap their car around like a pole and they can die from that. This is just you as a person landing on a car from like a high, like think about like just people jumping off of rooftops, right? If you jumped off the top of a mall and landed on the ground, you could potentially just die from that. They fell off of a rooftop. If anything, they were thrown off of a rooftop, well, all tied together, and landed on a car so hard that the car caved in and all the glass broke and everything. I just think Wonder Woman killed those guys. That's my thought process. We also know that Wonder Woman just has a lasso that she can use to wrap people up and then quickly like flurl them places. She could have just lassoed them, like lowered them to the ground, undone the lasso, whipped it back up, and then like super sped out of the way. Because there's this other thing in the movie where they keep establishing that Wonder Woman can run so fast that like you couldn't perceive it with the human eye. And I'm like, if she can do that, then why doesn't she just put the guys outside, normally and then run away? Because that's just another option. Weird flex, Wonder Woman. Could have killed those guys. Note number 9. The news reports that there have been literally dozens of sightings of Wonder Woman at the time in 1984. Wonder Woman has been around since World War I. Surely people know that she exists. There are tons of sightings now in 1984. Was she just particularly sloppy in 1984, or would she just be like better because she'd be trying to hide her identity since World War One? Like, I imagine you would have tons and tons of sightings around World War One where she's still trying to get used to hiding her identity. And by 1984, you think she'd be tightening up. There'd be less sightings. So if it's 1984 and there are dozens of sightings, how many were there in 1983 or 1982 or all the years before? It doesn't make sense to me at all that in Batman versus Superman, they're like, who's Wonder Woman? I thought she was with you. Everyone would know who Wonder Woman is. She's not really good at hiding. I mentioned the camera thing before. It's just weird. Another thing, this is an additional note. This wasn't included in my note list or whatever. A lot of superheroes get their nickname from the news. The news will straight up say, this mysterious, Wonder Woman appeared and did all this bullshit or whatever. Why does that not happen to Wonder Woman in this movie? So they're like, multiple eyewitnesses say that a mysterious woman stopped the robbery. If this sounds familiar to you, there have been dozens of similar reports recently, within the last few weeks. Who is this woman and why is she helping people or whatever? That's not how that news report would go. They would give her a name. Even if they didn't call her Wonder Woman, they would call her something. I think that's also a really weird thing that they do in the movie. Again, because I think they're specifically trying to make it where it's well, people don't know who she is in the future, so they can't know who she is in the past. Another thing, when you have a whole bunch of eyewitness testimony, people will always have a sketch. They'll have a sketch artist come in and it'll be well, what did the person look like? And since so many people see Wonder Woman in the mall scene, even if there somehow wasn't footage of Wonder Woman, from all these dozens of sightings, there should be plenty of sketches, professionally done and amateurly done, that should just show what Wonder Woman looks like, along with reports of her using her abilities and who she is. And when she's in the mall, even though she destroys all the cameras, she doesn't do the whole I'm moving so fast that the human eye can't see me. Because again, at the beginning of the film, she does do stuff like that. She saves a woman from getting hit by a car, and she runs so fast that no one sees what happens. It just looks like the car spins out, and everybody looks around what happened? She doesn't do that in the mall. She actually does stuff that goes against the idea of hiding, taking a long period of time to look a little girl straight in the eyes and wink at her and stuff, things where people can get a really good look at her to be able to describe a sketch or something like that. Really weird flex. Speaking of the little girl, this is another note that I didn't include in my notes. When she saves the little girl, she kicks a little girl so hard that the little girl slides multiple feet away from her and into a big teddy bear. And I'm Wonder Woman, Did you see that big teddy bear? Because if you didn't, she could have just went into like a pillar, and that probably would have hurt a little kid like a good bit because it's a hard kick. Have you ever seen anyone get kicked casually, like the distance that that little girl gets kicked? Weird, weird way to save anybody. Didn't like that. Felt really odd. But anyways, oh, also speaking of which, so you guys may be like, why are you harping so much on the fact that Wonder Woman's doing all these things that would essentially reveal that she exists? Again, it's just this weird thing where in Batman v Superman, no one knows who she is, which is especially weird for someone like Batman, who just is known to be like the world's greatest detective, and he researches all this stuff, and he knows Superman's secret identity and stuff like that in Batman v Superman. So he knows about like superpower people. Batman's also the guy who forms the Justice League later on. Like his whole thing is that he like researches all this crazy stuff and that he should know all these like secrets, especially the Wonder Woman secret, which is not a well-kept secret, which is what all this is like emphasizing, the fact that people should just know. Speaking of which, Wonder Woman is just like a public figure around the time of like Justice League, I would say. You could argue in Batman v Superman, but Justice League for sure. Wonder Woman is just outside doing stuff where everybody can see her and people definitely know who she is, like by the time of Justice League. Why? That's like a really big question for me. If Wonder Woman has been around since World War One and she's always been laying low and she doesn't want anyone to know who she is, why would she change up from what she's been doing for decades just because like Superman and Batman and stuff are around? Batman is around prior to the events of Man of Steel. Like he's another character that kind of existed before Superman, but he makes more sense because he's not really like a superpowered guy. You know what I mean? No one would really compare Batman and Superman directly together within like the Snyderverse or whatever, because Batman's clearly a dude who just like has a big car with guns on it and he like beats people's ass. He's not supernatural. You know what I mean? Like people kind of seem to know in the Snyderverse that he's like a weird vigilante. It's just the fact that in Man of Steel, they make such a big deal about him being like the first like superpowered being or whatever, and no one's ever experienced anything like it. To have Wonder Woman be around this whole time and her not be like a well-kept secret is weird. But it's also weird that Wonder Woman would go public for any reason if she's just been hiding for decades. Hiding poorly, but hiding nonetheless. Note number 10. At the beginning, it is mentioned that Cheetah is supposed to be identifying one particular artifact, which we believe to be the citrine wishing stone, because we see her in her office and she's like opening all these boxes and she's looking at all these artifacts. And when she finally gets to the wishing stone, she says something along the lines of like, here it is. And then she very quickly discounts it as nothing. And I find that really funny. It's a thing where clearly someone before her went through all the things and said, we couldn't identify one of the things. Like one of the things we just don't know what it is. Barbara Minerva, you were like a professional gemologist. This is like your whole thing. We need to figure out what this thing is that like no one recognizes. And she goes, $75 worth of citrine. And that's her whole thing about it. Like, is worthless. Why would it even get to her in the first place? If that's what like a professional would say, then why didn't the person before her just go $75 worth of citrine? Like we don't have to get like an ID on it. It's just a rock that's not really that expensive. And then just move on. Because if that really was Barbara's take on it, it's just expensive citrine, then the person before her either would have A, said the same thing, but clearly they didn't. The person before her was like, yeah, like they probably were smart enough to know it was citrine, and they were like, but there's all this extra shit on it, probably is more than that. It's just weird that she writes it off so quickly, because it sounds like her whole job at that point is just to figure out what that is. Which is even weirder later when Max Lord steals it or borrows it. We'll get to that because that's confusing as well. Because we don't really see Barbara work on any other projects for real. So if her main thing is to figure out what the wishing stone is, how does she expect to do that if she like gives it away or knows that it's stolen or whatever. Again, we'll get to that weird point in the movie where it's not like fully explained and seems to have like contradicting explanations. We'll get to that. Note number 11. Why doesn't the first guy who gets his wishing stone wish play a greater role in the film, as he should be one of the first people curious about the stone and its power? So, in case you guys missed it, the first person we see who gets a wish on the wishing stone is a guy who works at the Smithsonian, meaning that he would have like better access to the wishing stone than a lot of other people who don't work in the Smithsonian. And he touches the stone after he overhears Wonder Woman and Cheetah explain that it's a wishing stone. And he's like, I wish I had some coffee. And then he gets a coffee immediately. You're telling me that he doesn't talk to his fellow Smithsonian coworkers and say, yeah, you know, weird thing happened. Barbara Minerva, she's trying to learn about this wishing stone. And then the coworkers go, wishing stone? And it's like, yeah, you know, I touched it like jokingly and wished for a coffee and I got a coffee. And it's like, I know it's probably like a coincidence, but let's go fuck with the wishing stone. Like, that just sounds like what normal people would do. Does that guy not have any friends in the office? That just seems like the next thing. Like, I feel like the movie could have taken like a really different direction if you just explored that guy more. And later on, when like everybody's getting like wishes granted and Max Lord's like on television and stuff, that dude who got the coffee, I would have wished that we cut back to him and he'd be like, oh shit, I wasted my one wish on like a cup of coffee. Like, you know what I mean? Speaking of which, later on near the end of the movie, there's this big push for everyone to renounce their wish. Is that nigga really gonna renounce that he got a cup of coffee? How do you renounce something like you got a cup of coffee? Does he, because by that point, it's probably been like multiple days and he drank the coffee by then and probably already like pissed out the coffee. How do you undo getting a fucking cup of coffee? Does the cup vanish? Does it undo the moment in history where the guy brought him the cup? Like, some wishes make more sense to be like renounced. Like later on when Wonder Woman like wishes for Steve Trevor to come back, it's like, oh, well, the opposite of Steve Trevor coming back is for him to be dead now. But it's not like it undoes that he ever was revived. It's just he was revived and now he's dead again. How the fuck do you undo getting a cup of coffee that you drank a few days ago? It's stuff like that that like throws me about like how the movie's logic works. Really weird. Let's keep going. Okay, note number 12. And keep in mind, I've already done multiple notes that just weren't numbered, so now the numbers matter even less. Let's keep going. Note number 12. Why is it that Wonder Woman is the only person who wishes on the wishing stone silently? She wishes for Steve Trevor to come back, but she doesn't say anything. And everyone else's wishes are very explicitly stated, where they like touch the stone and they're like, I wish for blank. And then later, when Maxwell Lord wishes to put on the wishing stone, we'll get to that. He's like, I gotta touch you, and you have to say it. Like, you just told me you wanted a thing. You have to like say out loud that you like wish for a thing. Excuse me. And even later in the movie, again, we'll get to it, where Maxwell Lord is like broadcasting all over the world, and because of how the technology works, the particles are touching everyone, so technically he's touching everyone. He's like, say out loud what you wish for. He's like, and he also says, look into my eyes, as if that matters. Look into my eye on your TV and say what you're wishing for. Do they really have to say what they're wishing for? Like, I don't understand. Like, if that is a rule, it's never really explicitly stated except by Maxwell Lord, who has been researching the stone. So I imagine, like, he probably does know more about the stone than most people. But then why is it that Wonder Woman can make her wish without saying anything? It's really odd. Also, I'm thinking more about that, about like the whole Maxwell Lord researching the stone thing. We see Cheetah later on in the film look through like tons of microfiche, trying to like learn more about like the stone and its history. And she's like, it led me to a bunch of dead ends. And then I had to visit this like Mayan guy who works at the strip mall. Is that where Maxwell Lord learned about the wishing stone? Because if everything else is like a weird dead end when like learning about the wishing stone, did Maxwell Lord just go to the strip mall and meet this Mayan dude? And the Mayan dude's like, yeah, they're like this. You ever heard about the wishing stone? Because yeah, it doesn't really make sense if like a professional Smithsonian researcher whose whole job is to research the wishing stone, it's like there's no real information about it unless you go to this guy at the strip mall that happens to be in the same city that we all live in, that Maxwell Lord is also in. Does this all start when Maxwell Lord goes to the strip mall one day and visits a Mayan dude? Like, is that like the deleted scene that we never saw where he learns about the stone? And if not, then how did he go through all the microfish? Like, it's still confusing how Maxwell Lord learned about the wishing stone in the first place. I already kind of harped on that in an earlier point, so I'm not going to repeat. But yeah, weird. I don't get it. Okay, number 13. And again, the numbers don't matter because I've already done more than 13 things with all my additional thoughts that I say out loud. The only selfless thing that Cheetah does the whole movie is feed a homeless guy. Everything else she does is very self-motivated and selfish. Her main motivation in life is just to be popular. So Wonder Woman later on in the film, when she goes, the price of your wish is that you're like mean now. I remember you being like super joyful and nice and like a cool person, but you're like mean now. That's just not true. Rewatch Wonder Woman 1984 and you'll realize that Cheetah is just kind of a dick. The whole film, like at the beginning, you can kind of see the idea of her being nice, but that's just because she doesn't have power yet. It just sounds like what Cheetah wants to be, right? Is like a bad bitch. She's like, I want everybody to think I'm like sexy and cool, and I want attention from everybody, and I want everybody to like love me. Like she essentially just wants to kind of be worshipped. And the only reason why she's like playing up to people so hard and trying to be like friends with everybody is to achieve bad bitch status, right? And as soon as she becomes a bad bitch, she's not doing her like friendly stuff anymore because that's not her like point. That's not the reason why she does everything that she does, right? I don't think that was her monkey's paw that she like was like, oh, you were nice before and now you're mean. And if it was her monkey's paw, weak monkey's paw. She has a whole shit ton of superpowers after she gets her wish. If her monkey's paw is that she's mean, okay, fine. Shitty monkey's paw. Weird flex. Okay, note number 14. Why does Cheetah do weird stuff like go to her office at night while no one is around and sleep in her office overnight? Does she do that regularly? That's really weird, especially if she doesn't shower or brush her teeth when she gets up, which she doesn't do when she wakes up in her office. Like, I have no idea why she, like, passes out in her office and wakes up, and then she's like, oh, I gotta get ready in the mirror. It's like, did you not intentionally go to sleep in in your office? Nothing about the wishes that people ask for make them pass out when they make the wish. People make huge wishes in the movie and they don't like fall unconscious. So she like willingly went to the office in the middle of the night and went to the wishing stone and made a wish and then went to sleep. That's gross. If you're wondering why like Cheetah at the beginning of the movie is like, why doesn't anybody talk to me? Why does no one give me like the time of day? Maybe you're gross and you like sleep in the office overnight and you don't shower. Isn't that nasty? I don't know. Am I the only one who like saw that and thought like that was weird? I feel like that might have something to do with you not being like one of the most popular people. Just saying. Okay. Oh, and also, it's kind of a faux pas to do stuff like that. Like just normally. So there's like this thing called like insider threat, where companies need to be worried about like people who work for them who might then later try to like betray the company in some way. And one of the signs that they say for insider threat are people who like stay in the office at really like weird hours when no one else is around. And keep in mind that Minerva, like Barbara Minerva, Cheetah, She's like specifically working on a case related to like the FBI. The FBI wants them to like look at all these like precious artifacts or whatever. Insider threat risk, insider threat risk, really weird. That kind of thing makes me feel like really uncomfortable. I'm like, ooh, she'd get reported for that. There's something like really odd about that behavior. Again, that's just me just thinking too hard about the movie, but that's kind of the whole point of this like list of notes. Weird flex, gross cheetah. Note number 15. Cheetah's wish is like 5 wishes. She wishes to be like Diana. She wishes to be strong. She wishes to be sexy. And she wishes to be special. She says like all of that at once while like holding the rock. She doesn't say, I wish to be sexy and special and strong like Diana. She says, I wish to be like Diana. And then she's like strong, sexy, special. For one, all that shit's relative. Like to wish to be strong, relative to what? Wish to be sexy, relative to who? Wish to be special, relative to what? So I guess it is nice that she says I want to be like Wonder Woman first, and then she specifies all those other things. But to be like Wonder Woman, like just as a wish by itself, could mean that you're like a brunette now. Like to be like Wonder Woman doesn't mean that you get all those other things. And trust, she got way more than the 5 things that she asked for. And I'll go into that later. But the Cheetah has a shit ton of powers that she didn't request, but she just has now. So let's keep it rolling. Note number 16. I like that Max Lord is the oil guy who says the thing, life is good, but it could be better. He has like a weird delivery when he like says his line where he like emphasizes the second part. But it's interesting that Max Lord within like his investor circles, it's like you're a piece of shit con artist, but his like television ad is so good that people just kind of fuck with him regardless of whether or not he's actually like a cool person. Again, you guys may be like, why are you harping on that? That's not a negative. I just was like, yeah, that sounds right. That just sounds like legitimate characterization because that just would be like a thing. I don't know. I liked it. That's a note that I liked, like something that I thought was cool about the movie. Another thing that I like about the movie, note number 17, Hans Zimmer has some cool tracks in this film. In case you guys don't know who Hans Zimmer is, my first introduction to him was the Christopher Nolan movies. He did like the score for like the Christopher Nolan like Dark Knight trilogy or whatever. Hans Zimmer has like some fire tracks in that. He has some really good tracks in this film as well. The song that plays when Max Lord first shows interest in the stone is actually really cool. It has like an ominous like X-Files feel. I definitely recommend listening to like the Hans Zimmer OST. The music in this movie is great. I have like no issues with the music. 18. Note number 18. I don't know why Wonder Woman just hates Max Lord for no reason as soon as she meets him. She rushes him out of the office even though he is there for a tour and is having a good time with Barbara Minerva. Like they're just like hanging out, having fun, which is kind of the point. He's like a partner who's donating money to the Smithsonian and is holding like a gala. And Wonder Woman says something like, I think you should go. And Max Lord leaves. He has no reason to leave. Max Lord very easily could put his foot down and go, nope, not breaking any rules, not being disruptive, not being rude to anybody, just here for the tour that I'm supposed to be taking. You know, like, I just thought that was like a weird, like, Wonder Woman has to unnecessarily power play Max Lord moment. I didn't really understand that. I didn't understand why Max Lord just takes it and leaves, because he really didn't have to. Also, it's not even a thing where Wonder Woman could say, yeah, I've seen your ads on TV and they rub me the wrong way. She doesn't know who Max Lord is. And the only thing she does know about him is that he's an investor who's giving money to the place that she works for and that he's being given a tour that he's supposed to be on. And Wonder Woman also doesn't know how long the tour has been going for. So as far as she knows, Max Lord could have been there for like 15 minutes and then Wonder Woman's like, I think you should go now. Weird. Something you wouldn't do. Something that just seems really odd and very abrasive for no reason. Let's see. Next up, note number 19. Max Lord's plans are so weird. So his plan is to find a magic gem so that he can create a business empire to one day give to his son. I do like that he's characterized as a loving father who's too distracted by his plans for greatness to spend any time with his son, even though his son is like a big motivator. Because later, when we learn more about Max Lord's life, he was kind of treated like shit as a child, and he kind of wants to build like a better life for himself and for his son. So I kind of like where they're going with his characterization, and I think his characterization is the best in the movie. Um, and I also like that he's like a weird, like broken mirror reflection of Wonder Woman, where Wonder Woman's like all about like truth, where this guy is like a troubled man who lies to everyone, including himself, in order to try to make his dreams a reality. Like he is a nice like opposite to Wonder Woman, where Cheetah kind of acts like a I have like similar powers to you, but I fight more for myself while you're fighting more for others. Max Lord is like my powers are like nothing like yours, Wonder Woman. Like I do like a very different thing. But from like a symbolic and characterization like point of view, I am like your true opposite kind of thing. So great villains. Like I'm not gonna lie, I do think the way that the villains are written in this movie is kind of cool. Do I understand how all the plans and motivations and stuff work? No, and you'll see that more as I go through this list. I'm not even like halfway through this list, really long list. But I do think some of the characterization stuff is cool. So note number 19 is weird because I'm like, his plans are weird, but then I go, but cool character. I really like his character. Note number 20. It is crazy that Simon Stagg is introduced in this movie as an old man in Wonder Woman 1984. How are they going to use him in the future of the DCEU if he's an old man in the 1980s? Simon Stagg is a legitimate character in the DC universe with connections to other characters like Metamorpho. Maybe if we have like a modern day Simon Stagg, he'll just be super duper old, or it'll be like well when we see Simon Stagg in the present day it's like Simon Stagg Jr. or whatever. But it just seems weird to throw in a character like Simon Stagg and have him be an investor that worked with Max Lord until he got in trouble for like tax stuff due to a wish. Speaking of which, when people start renouncing their wishes left and right, right? Does that mean that Simon Stagg gets out of prison for tax stuff? Is it a thing where he legitimately was doing tax fraud? And then the wish makes it where, oh, his tax fraud's been discovered and there's been a whole investigation and there's a warrant for his arrest and now we're going to get him? Or did the wish create the tax fraud, which then leads to his arrest? Because once everyone renounces their wishes, is it like, oh, hey, sorry, you didn't have tax fraud, accounting error, you're free from prison? The like renounce your wish, reverse the wish thing is really odd. And it's not fully explained how it works. And the way we see it work in the movie is confusing. Well, let's keep it going. Let's keep running through here. Okay. Note number 21. There was a scene where Wonder Woman looks for the wishing stone, doesn't find it, and sees a receipt with Max Lord's name on it. This scene doesn't make any sense. I don't understand that scene. It implies that Max Lord, like, bought the stone or something. Like, I don't understand the weird receipt that has his name on it. There's also a scene later where Wonder Woman asks Cheetah where the stone is, and Wonder Woman's surprised when Cheetah goes, it's with Max Lord. It's like, Wonder Woman, you already saw the note in the box that the stone was in that had Max Lord's name on it. And then you went to Cheetah to ask where the stone was, and Cheetah goes, with Max Lord. And you're like, what? Why does he have it? How did he get the stone? Did you forget about the receipt in the box scene? I think everybody did, because I didn't pick up on it until the second time I watched the movie. What was the receipt in the box thing? This gets more confusing later. Note number 22. Wonder Woman straight up says she's not going to go to the gala at the Smithsonian. And she only goes to the gala at the Smithsonian because she sees the receipt in the box for the wishing stone that has Max Lord's name on it. So it seems like she's specifically going to the gala so that she can like go up to Max Lord so that she can learn more about the wishing stone because she thinks he has it. That's the only reason I could see for why Wonder Woman would go to the gala. Like the receipt in the box scene is supposed to set up for the Wonder Woman at the gala scene, but it gets confusing as like this movie goes on, and it's just really like overcomplicated. So she goes to the gala looking for Max Lord to learn more about the wishing stone because she found the receipt in the box. But then she gets distracted by Steve Trevor because Steve Trevor was revived by her silent wish that she made earlier. And then she just kind of forgets about the whole Max Lord thing until like the morning after she bangs Steve Trevor, which is like really odd. Also, Wonder Woman was at the gala and she could see Max Lord, and she'd be like, "Oh, Max Lord's upstairs." So she'd rush upstairs to get to Max Lord, and then suddenly she'd be upstairs and Max Lord's like downstairs. And I'm like, Wonder Woman's really bad at tracking normal people. Max Lord at this time doesn't have like any weird powers or anything that are letting him like teleport up and down stairs. She's just fucking up, chasing after like one dude. How? How? Like she chases after like goons at the beginning of the movie in a mall full of people as there's mass hysteria and tons of people are running around, and she does it like effortlessly. I know at the time she's dressed in her Wonder Woman garb and she's using her lasso and shit, but you're telling me she can't speed walk up some stairs and catch up with Max Lord? And to make matters worse, Cheetah is shown getting to the party after Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's whole thing is that I'm at the gala so I can get to Max Lord so I can learn about the wishing stone, and that's the only reason why she's at the gala. Cheetah's going to the gala because Max Lord invited her to go to the gala, and Cheetah's kind of feeling herself because she made like the wish to be sexy, and now everybody's like they're like fucking with Cheetah or whatever. So she goes to the gala. She's being like gawked at by everybody. She's the center of attention. She has plenty of reasons why she wouldn't just run into Max Lord immediately, because she's like the center of everybody's attention and tons of people would be trying to talk to her and interact with her. How does she get to Maxwell Lord before Wonder Woman? And how does like Cheetah and Max Lord have like a conversation with one another where they don't move at all? They just stand in like one place, and Wonder Woman, who's actively tracking down Max Lord, and in the last scene we saw Wonder Woman in, just was looking at where he was and was redirecting to go to him. How does she not catch him? How does she not like interrupt that scene and go, "Yes, Max Lord, the guy that I was looking for the whole time. There you are, stopped talking to Barbara." It's just odd. You could argue like, well, Max Lord does pretty quickly go, "How about we get out of here and like go to your office, Barbara," kind of thing. But that doesn't seem like it'd be fast enough to dodge a Wonder Woman that's actively hunting him. Weird. Still weird. Do. Okay. Note number 23. Max Lord acts as if he doesn't know what the wishing stone is, which makes it confusing that a Max Lord receipt is in the wishing stone box. This note is a non-note. So I don't know why I wrote that note in, but check this out. We already know that Max Lord knows what the wishing stone is. Later on in the film, we learn that he's been researching the wishing stone for like a long time. He just acts like he doesn't know what the wishing stone is because he's like playing dumb. Duh. Note number 23 doesn't count. I've said so many additional notes that aren't in this list that I'm pretty much on like note number 30, even though really we're about to be on note number 24. Note number 23 is a non-note. I'm going to add a little thing in my notes and say non-issue. Don't know why that note's there. Note number 24. Cheetah later says that Max Lord borrowed the wishing stone, even though we see Max Lord straight up steal the stone from Cheetah after she said that she wouldn't let him have it. And this is where like the receipt in the box thing gets complicated. You find the wishing stone box. Inside the box, the stone's not there, but there's a receipt that says Max Lord on it. Then Max Lord gets Barbara Minerva to go up to her office because in the office is the wishing stone, which Max Lord doesn't have, so I don't know why there was a Max Lord receipt in the box. And also, does the receipt mean that he bought it or that he didn't buy it? Like, is he like the real owner of the stone because he like bought it with money? I don't understand. But Barbara has it, and then he's like, "Hey, that stone. Do you mind if I borrow that stone or whatever?" And then she's like, nah, I don't think so. Like it's not even really my stone, and we got to study it." And then he just kind of makes out with her, and then we see him sneakily grab the stone and put it behind his back, and then it cuts away. And then when Wonder Woman asks Barbara, "Hey, where's the stone? What happened to the stone?" It's a thing where Barbara's like, "Yeah, Max Lord borrowed it." Is she lying? And she's like, "I know that Max Lord stole it, but I'm going to say that he borrowed it." When they cut away, did she go, "Hey, I saw you put the stone behind your back because it's a big-ass $75 citrine stone. If you really want it that bad, yeah, you can borrow it. Let's keep making out"? Did he buy it? What's the fucking receipt in the box? What does that mean? like I just have like all these weird questions because I don't know if he borrowed it, he stole it, or he bought it. But it's one of the three, and the movie's making me believe that it's all of them, which doesn't make any sense. So let's keep going. Note number 25. Why does Steve Trevor come back to life in someone else's body? What happened to the mind of the guy that Steve Trevor took the body of? Until he eventually got his body back, which he does later on when Wonder Woman renounces the wish, is the guy that Steve Trevor took the body of like a descendant of Steve Trevor? Like why does he take that body specifically? The monkey paw of Steve Trevor's revival is weird because Wonder Woman becomes weaker, which if that's the monkey's paw, then it's even weirder that Steve Trevor is in some weird dude's body. Like you'd think the monkey paw of the wish is like Steve Trevor came back, but he didn't come back as himself. He came back as like another guy. So when it's revealed that the monkey's paw is that Wonder Woman's weaker, why did he come back as another guy? Does the wish have like two monkey's paws? Can the wish only bring people back to life if it puts them in someone else's body? Later on, we see a guy wish that a woman like drop dead, and the woman does just drop dead. She just straight up like dies. When he renounces his wish, which we see him do, does that woman come back, but in the body of another woman? Like, I don't understand why wishing to revive someone would have such a, like, weird monkey's paw, like double monkey's paw kind of thing. Really odd. Don't get it. Okay, note number 26. Steve Trevor reveals the existence of the afterlife and just describes it as good. I'm not sure if any of these like other movies straight up do imply that an afterlife exists in the DCEU. Maybe Man of Steel. I think there's a moment where Superman talks to his dad, but it's like a weird dream sequence thing, and that could have been like the spirit of his dad from beyond or something. I don't know. But it's interesting that he goes, "It's good. Yeah, I was in heaven. Good. Don't know how to describe it. Good. Okay then. Really weird." Note number 27. Steve Trevor says he doesn't know how to use a bike that's in the apartment of the guy whose body he took over, but this nigga can fly a plane in World War I and a futuristic jet in 1984. Can't ride a goddamn bike. Doesn't know how to get on a bike. I don't understand that scene. The bike doesn't even look like it's like a motorized bike. It just looks like it's like a normal bike. And even if it was a motorized bike, you're telling me he doesn't know how to ride a motorcycle? Doesn't he like ride a motorcycle in like the first Wonder Woman movie at some point? Maybe I'm misremembering. Excuse me, there definitely were motorcycles in the first Wonder Woman movie. I don't get why he says he couldn't get the bike going. Really confusing. Weird scene. Note number 28. Why does Max Lord wish to become the Wishing Stone instead of wishing for the ability to grant wishes? You guys may be like, well, isn't that the same thing? No, it's not the same thing. The Wishing Stone can only give people one wish, like one wish per person. And there are all these other rules connected to the Wishing Stone where you gotta like touch it, and apparently you don't have to say the wish out loud. If you're Wonder Woman, you can just like silently say it. Like the Wishing Stone has rules. If you just had the ability to grant wishes, you'd get something similar to becoming the wishing stone, except it'd just be better because you're getting it like without the restrictions. Why does the wishing stone turn to dust when Max Lord wishes to become the wishing stone? They don't like morph together. He doesn't just become a rock, which is what you think would happen. Like you think he'd literally become the wishing stone. Like his soul would be inside the stone or something. It's just weird how like his wish gets interpreted. Also, why is the monkey's paw of the wish that he starts getting weaker? And why is it that later on he gets like wind powers? Like I get that the wishing stone made him weaker and that suddenly he had the ability to like determine what your monkey's paw of the wish was. But I don't understand how that made it where he could create like cyclones and stuff. Because later on near the end of the film, Wonder Woman tries to fight Maxwell Lord and he can just push her away. He's like, my wind is so strong, you can't get close to me. Ah, push. Ah, I got the wind pushes. Ba 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 ba. But it's like, how is he doing the wind pushes? Is he able to set the monkey's paw of someone's wish to be just whatever the fuck he wants? Like to the point where it doesn't have to make sense? Oh, you wish for a Porsche? Okay, the monkey's paw of that. I got wind powers now. I got wind power, winding it up. Got all this wind now. Because it seems like the cost of some people's wishes is just like a nothing cost. Especially if he can do stuff where it's like, the cost of your wish is that I get something cool that doesn't sacrifice anything from you. It's like, oh cool, then that's not a cost to a wish. That's just 2 wishes. Really weird flex. Don't understand how his shit works. Ayo. Ayo. And I already mentioned this earlier. Why does he have to touch you and hear your wish to grant wishes at the beginning, but not later? Okay, so this is kind of weird. So later on when he's broadcasting to everybody and they see him on TV, and he's like, look into my eyes and say your wish aloud or whatever, how is he hearing the wishes? I'm not sure if I referred to this later in another note, but he starts hearing the wishes that are done at a distance, and I don't know how that works. The communication thing isn't two-sided, right? Like, it's not like he turned everybody's TV into, like, a full camera and microphone where he can hear what they say back to him. I actually don't get it at all. Like, it's really not explained. But Wonder Woman also hears the wishes, I think. Like, when she gets inside of the studio, somehow in the studio, you can audibly hear everybody's wishes at the end of the movie. I don't get that. I don't understand how that works. Really confusing. Let's see. So let's move on to note number 29. Note number 29. One of my favorite lines from the movie is when Steve Trevor asks, does everybody parachute now? Don't know why. Thought it was kind of charming and kind of funny, because it is one of those things where it's like, who knows what the future is like? He was in the Air Force. It was a thing that he used to do. He's like, man, maybe that just became commonplace. I just feel like that is something that he would say. Moving on. Note number 30. Max Lord just starts hiring people left and right without interviewing them or telling them what their job is. That's weird. That's not how hiring works. I get that like his assistant wishes that they had more help, and people start just running into the building and going, is this the hiring office? I'm supposed to be here for an interview as like an accountant or whatever. And Max Lord just goes, you're hired. You're hired. Nope. I feel like if I was either of those dudes, I'd be like, so this is the hiring office? Like, I'd just be confused. Or like, hold on, is this the accounting firm that I'm supposed to be working at? Like, you can't just say I'm hired and then run away. It would be like, when do I start? Like, where do I work? Do I have like an office space? Do I have any equipment? Like, who's managing these people that he's hiring just by like pointing at and saying that you're hired? And are they confused? Like, is there a guy who's like, yeah, I was coming to the hiring office and I was just told by the guy who I guess is the hiring office manager that I'm hired, so I guess I work at the hiring office. Yeah, like, it just sounds confusing to then just point at people and just say, you're hired, and then just run away. That I feel like you would have a whole bunch of people standing around and going, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. You know what I mean? Note number 31. Cheetah's eyesight is improved magically, but I have no idea why. She didn't wish for better eyesight. She also became super agile in heels, which is also something that she didn't wish for. She wished to be like Diana, but there are many ways that she's nothing like Diana, right? So it's not like when she wished to be like Diana that she became like Diana in every way, right? And then she wished to be sexy and strong, but being strong doesn't necessarily mean that you have good eyesight, and it doesn't mean that you're like agile in heels. And being sexy, someone could try and argue that being agile in heels is sexy, and that I guess not having to wear glasses is sexy. That's relative. Like nerdy glasses can be hot or whatever. It really depends on who you ask. Um, I think because she wished to be special, she got like a whole bunch of extra powers. And that really fucks with me. I'm like, is that the best wish? You just wish to be special and you get like extra powers? Because she just wished for a bunch of powers, essentially. And I don't know why more people didn't just wish for powers. It just seems like it works out really well in your favor to just have superpowers. That's just me. Note number 32. Wonder Woman treats Cheetah very harshly over the stone thing and doesn't explain why she's so interested in the stone in the first place. Like, she's like, Barbara, where's the stone? And Barbara's like, it's with Max Lord, which again, because of the receipt in the box, Wonder Woman should just know it's with Max Lord already. So then she's like, what? Why? Like, why is it with Max Lord? Like, she gets like really in like Barbara's face about it. And Barbara's like, calm down. It's like a $70 like citrine stone that's really lame. Wonder Woman earlier on in the movie was like, yeah, the stone's like really lame. I can't believe how lame the stone is. And now Wonder Woman's like really hype on it. And she's like really pushing this idea that like, ooh, the stone's really important and you like fucked up and it wasn't our stone to give away and like da na na na. And Wonder Woman doesn't take like a single moment to just say, hey, the wishing stone, it just actually works and we shouldn't let it fall into the wrong hands. Max Lord's like a big business dude. He could literally, use the wishing stone to do anything and potentially do like bad stuff with it. And even if you trust Maxwell Lord, because Barbara does like talk about how her and Max Lord essentially fucked, they did the smash. Even if she likes Max Lord, it should still be a thing where it's like, yeah, but Max Lord just has the stone now, which means anyone could just get their hands on the stone if they get close enough to Max Lord. And if anyone can get their hands on the stone, it could be like Bad News Bears, really like big issue, oh no, a bad guy has the stone kind of situation. But she doesn't explain anything, and she kind of just pisses Barbara off, and then Wonder Woman like storms off. Again, Wonder Woman just has scenes in this movie where she's just a dick for like no reason. It's been established that her and Barbara are supposed to kind of be like friends, but that's not like the kind of thing that you would do with a friend, where you just don't explain yourself at all and you just make your friend feel bad about a thing that, as far as she was aware of, neither of you really gave a fuck about. Weird. Moving on. Note number 33. Wonder Woman struggles to break a lock off of a garage door in order to hint at her powers being weakened due to the monkey's paw of reviving Steve Trevor, but later flips a truck with a single kick. The idea of her powers getting weaker isn't portrayed well in the film, and feels out of nowhere when it is later stated outright to be the monkey's paw of Wonder Woman's wish. Essentially, they have this thing where Wonder Woman's powers seem to get weaker, as in sometimes they don't work as well. What? That's not really getting weaker. That's kind of like how like cell service can have like temporary outages where it's like, oh, like sorry, right now you can't like connect to AT&T, but then later you have like full service connection. You know what I mean? Like it's not a thing where Wonder Woman is like, I'm garage door lock level and my powers are like continually getting weaker over time. It's like sometimes I'm garage door lock level and other times I'm like kick a truck level. Like she goes back and forth between the two. But it's described as her powers getting weaker. It's like, no, it's just they're like inconsistent would be like a better descriptor. I think if they had said that, this note wouldn't even be written because I'd be like, that's accurate to what we see. Next, note number 34. Wonder Woman actually introduces some really interesting lore that I wish would be explored more in the future. It also would have been nice to have just been explored more in this movie. Like the language of the gods, the existence of like mini gods beyond just like the Olympian pantheon and like the concept of like the new gods, which is somewhat touched on in like Justice League and stuff like that, and also the existence of whatever gods Shazam is connected to. You know, like we know there's a lot of like crazy mythological stuff in the DCEU, but it would have been cool to have gotten like a god list, I guess. Like if there was a scene where we get to see all the different gods or something. She just says there are many. I wish I kind of would have just known more. Also, is the language of the gods like a universal language that like all gods can speak or what? That's just another question that I have. Like, are you telling me like the Roman gods and the Greek gods and the Egyptian gods, like everybody else, they just all speak the same like god tongue? Like, is that a thing? She also mentions that there are items created by the gods that are powered by concepts, which she calls universal elements. I'd love to know what the universal elements are. We know that like truth and lies are like two universal elements. What else are universal elements? Like, is love a universal element? And also, it's really interesting that Wonder Woman's lasso is like one of these like god items. I remember in the first Wonder Woman movie, there was like a sword, and they were like, it's the god killer or whatever. The sword's like super powerful. Wonder Woman needs it in order to like face off against Ares, and then it's revealed the sword was actually nothing, and Wonder Woman was really the god killer or whatever. Would have been cool if the sword was one of these like god items or whatever. Like it could have actually been something kind of nice, like something like interesting. Well, whatever. You know, we'll move on. Note number 35. If the wishing stone is powered by lies and the lasso is powered by the truth, which is essentially the opposite of lies, then why is the wishing stone so much more powerful than the lasso? Like the wishing stone straight up just manipulates reality, where the lasso can like show you like visions of the truth and it can compel you to like tell the truth and to see the truth. Is that really on the same level as just wishes? Even wishes with monkey's paws are still wishes because the monkey paw normally isn't that bad. Like Wonder Woman gets weaker from her Steve Trevor wish, but Wonder Woman could have just retired. You know what I mean? Like she could have done a thing where she's like, I'm not going to renounce my wish. I'm going to try and stop Maxwell Lord with my inconsistent powers because she beats him with a speech anyways. It's not even really that she needs to be fully powered up to beat him. And then she could have been like, yeah, and then I spend like the rest of my life with Steve Trevor or whatever. And I just stop being a superhero. To be honest, that would have been like a better explanation for how like no one knows who Wonder Woman is. If like after 1984, Wonder Woman just kind of was a normal person who had like inconsistent abilities. So she just kind of stopped being Wonder Woman until suddenly something big enough happens, like what's happening in Batman v Superman, for her to like come out from like retirement and to like fight again. Though I guess that no, that still works because even when she's looking for like the picture of Steve Trevor, like she's like, oh, I only have like one picture with him or whatever. That still would be true because Steve Trevor doesn't look the way that he used to in this new body. So she still could value the picture very heavily or whatever. Weird. I don't know. Like I have like mixed feelings about it, I guess. Let's see. Note number... Hold on a second. Yeah, note number 36. If Wonder Woman needs Steve Trevor to fly planes for her, then doesn't that mean that she can't fly her own invisible jet? Also, thank you for introducing the invisible jet in the same movie where you also introduced that Wonder Woman can fly. Also, thank you for introducing the fact that Wonder Woman can like lasso off of stuff to travel around environments, kind of like how Spider-Man web swings in the same movie where you introduce that Wonder Woman can fly, because it automatically makes the lassoing thing something that she never needs to do again, and it makes the invisible jet something that she really doesn't need. Like essentially, they make Wonder Woman like super mobile in this movie, where you see her run at super speed and do all this other stuff, and then they go, but in reality, she'll pretty much just fly. Like when you really think about it, she has no reason to use all those other abilities. Moving on to note number 37. The jet that Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman stole probably couldn't make a flight to Egypt and back with no extra fuel. This is something that I kind of ignored. When I talked to Ryan, Ryan brought it up, and I was like, you're right. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't really care. Suspension of disbelief, I wouldn't have thought about it that hard. Note number 38. Why does Wonder Woman never use her powers to turn things invisible? It sounds like an extremely useful ability, and she's like, yeah, I've only ever tried to do it once on a coffee cup, and then I lost it. It's just being able to turn things invisible, and there's no real drawback, and the invisibility seems to last like indefinitely or whatever. I'm sure there are good applications for that. She just doesn't use it. But it's like a whole power that it seems like she can do whenever she needs it. Weird to never use it. And she only ever uses it to make like the jet invisible. When they're in the car and they're chasing after that convoy and they're getting shot at, probably would have been nice if the car was invisible so that it would seem like the convoy wasn't being followed. And then they could have tracked down like Max Lord by just following behind them while invisible. And then once Max Lord gets out of the car, they could have quickly like swooped in, grabbed Max Lord, and then continued about their business. Like, why didn't they just make the car invisible while they were chasing after Max Lord? These are the questions that keep me up at night. Okay, moving on. Note number 39. Why does Wonder Woman wait to wear her special armor to go fight Max Lord and not wear it literally at any other time before? Why not wear the super armor all the time? One thing that I thought was interesting is that I thought the movie was going to say at some point during the events of the film she finds the super armor, but she just has the super armor the whole time and she doesn't unveil it until the end of the film because it's the third act of the film, so you should do something flashy to put in the trailer. But why not just legitimately wear it all the time? Wonder Woman is shown to be like super fast, like she can sprint so fast that like the human eye can't see her, and she seems to have practically infinite stamina. You don't normally see Wonder Woman get tired. Why is it that she doesn't just like quickly like jump across the city or like run at super speed to get into her armor and then jump to wherever she needs to be or run across the city and then like stop a bad guy and then jump back and like put her armor away or something? It just seems like something she could do. The armor seems really important. It's not something that she's like trying to keep a secret any more than she's trying to keep herself a secret. So if you're willing to wear your Wonder Woman armor, why not also wear like your Golden Eagle super armor just all the time? Weird. Note number 40. Wonder Woman's invisibility powers are weird. I don't get how she's inside the invisible jet and the controls are still visible, but the wings aren't visible even from inside of the jet. Ryan and I had a full phone conversation just about this because Ryan's like, no, it makes sense. Only the outside of the plane is like invisible and it's like a reflective invisibility. So it's not that you're seeing through the plane. It's that it's just reflecting everything like that's outside of the plane off of it. And then when you're inside of the plane, you're only being cloaked because the outside is like super reflective or whatever. And when you look out the window, you still wouldn't be able to see like the plane wing kind of thing. I guess. I don't know. Like I think that makes sense and I think that's consistent, but my brain still gets like really confused trying to like think about it. The windshield of the plane, if it's like this weird invisibility where it reflects everything, so you see stuff like you essentially see through the plane because of the fact that it's reflecting everything off of it. then wouldn't that change the properties of like how the windshield works in the first place? And then wouldn't it not work like a normal see-through windshield then? Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor would need to be invisible if you can see, like if you can't see through the windshield and like see them. Because it's like they're trying to like have their cake and eat it too. Where it's like the outside of the windshield is reflective, so you can't see through the windshield, but then you can still see out of the windshield normally. And also there are shots taken of the outside of the invisible jet where you can see through the window and you can see like Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor reacting to the fireworks going off around them. And then there are other shots outside of the window where you can't see them through the window and it's doing the reflective thing. And I think that makes it even less consistent and like harder to put your finger on like how the invisibility works. If the invisibility works like how the island of Themyscira worked, then if I remember correctly, there's a big barrier between like the island and the rest of man's world. And I imagine if you stuck your hand through the barrier, you wouldn't see your hand, but you could still see you. Like you could see all of you that's not in the invisibility barrier. If it's following the same rules as that, which I think it should be, because Wonder Woman straight up says, I'm trying to figure out how my father was able to turn the island invisible, implying that she's like, I inherited that power, I'm using the same power kind of thing. Then it should be a thing where it's like there's a barrier around the invisible jet kind of thing that makes it invisible. But within the barrier, you should be able to see everything in the barrier. Because when you're on the island of Themyscira, you're invisible because you're in the barrier, and the island's invisible because it's in the barrier, but you can still see yourself and you can still see the island. So if you're in the barrier of the invisible jet, I think the jet shouldn't look invisible to you. You should be able to still see the wing of the jet. It's really odd. Ryan and I went back and forth on it and like kind of like thought about it over the phone. Interesting discussion. Could literally be a whole video on its own. Note number 41. Fireworks look pretty, but they are still explosives. Is it safe to fly a jet through fireworks? They do that in the film, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound like a good idea. I don't think I'd fly through a bunch of explosions. Note number 42. Why is it that Wonder Woman doesn't understand how flight works? She could just read a book about it. Why is it that Wonder Woman doesn't own a TV? She works at the Smithsonian. She seems to be really interested in knowledge. In the first Wonder Woman movie, I think they talk about that she like reads a lot and that she's like learned a lot about man's world. It seems kind of odd that someone who like cherishes knowledge is like, television? Nah, I don't fuck with like TVs. But also we see Wonder Woman do stuff like use microfiche. Like, why is she very selective about the type of like knowledge like media that she uses? Microfiche is okay, books are okay, TV is not okay, because I guess you can't learn anything from TV. Weird. I don't get that at all. Number 43. Why is it that Wonder Woman learns how to fly from a random speech that she receives from Steve Trevor? That seems like a very weird way to get a new power. The scene where Wonder Woman flies is actually kind of cool. It is probably one of the coolest superhero flight scenes visually, but I think it is undercut by her just getting the power kind of randomly from a powerful speech that Steve Trevor gave earlier in the movie that really wouldn't tell you how to actually fly if you didn't know how to fly before. You know what I mean? Imagine if Wonder Woman said, oh man, I was watching a cartoon the other day and this character had like laser vision, and I was like, I don't understand how laser vision would work. And then Steve Trevor's like, I don't know, if you use your imagination. Laser vision just kind of seems like you're reflecting light off of your eyes in such a way to where it creates like a high intensity beam or something. And then later on, Steve Trevor's like, renounce your wish, sacrifice me, da-na-na. And then Wonder Woman's like, no, I renounce my wish to see Trevor. And then she remembers when Steve Trevor said, yeah, so laser vision would just be reflecting light off your eyes to make like a high intensity beam. And then Wonder Woman goes, and just like shot beams. It's like just because someone says some kind of like speech to you that very vaguely describes how a power might work, that doesn't mean that now you can like use that power, especially if you just didn't possess the power before. I didn't like that like at all. But I do wish that Shazam had a scene similar to Wonder Woman's flying around scene. When Shazam starts like flying around and shit in Shazam, I feel like they didn't have like a really nice moment of just like flying's cool. Like just look at how like nice shots of flying are. They actually in Shazam have this weird scene where he's just flying around and like talking, and it's just not that cool. Anyways, enough about Shazam. Let's move on to the next one. We're now more than halfway through the list, which is nice. Note number 44. Why is it that Cheetah has the power to very quickly research and comprehend information using microfiche? That's not one of the powers she wished for. Yeah, there's this thing where Cheetah's like trying to learn more about the wishing stone, and she's using microfiche, and she's like quickly scanning through it. She's like zip 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 zip. Take out the microfiche, put in another one, zip 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 zip. A dude walks up to her and hands her a microfiche, and he's like, "This is the last one. It should like keep you busy for a while." And she puts it in. The dude's like pestering her. She uses the microfiche and really quickly like analyzes it and says, "I'm done." And she's like, "Well, sorry." The dude's like, "Done? Like, how are you done?" Because that's something that like the Flash can do, where you very quickly like comprehend information. You can like speed read through stuff. Again, Cheetah only wished to be like Diana, to be special, to be strong, and to be sexy. Did Cheetah just have the best wish out of everybody's wish that just gives you a whole bunch of powers, even if you didn't specifically ask for them? Again, really fascinating. Note number 45. The music when Cheetah is kicking the guy who attacked her down the street is awesome. It really does set the scene. Shout out to Hans Zimmer. That's pretty much all that note was. Excuse me. Note number 46. I like how Cheetah gets identified beating someone to death and then just says, "Mind your business," and runs off. It's very ridiculous and very silly. I think I laughed the first time I saw that scene. Note number 47. The crude oil guy that Max Lord makes a deal with is a powerful person in Bialia. He actually, straight up in the movie, says Bialia, which is a reference to an important country in the DC universe. Boop, 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 boop. Trivia. Note number 48. Wonder Woman has a minor headache before the car battle in Egypt, which is supposed to hint at her getting weaker, which is really weird. Again, it doesn't really show that she's weaker. A moment later, she pushes a truck sideways at super speed into another truck. Headache's not doing a damn thing. Just saying. I feel like they really dropped the ball on trying to make her wish seem like it had a monkey's paw. Because she really, really didn't need to make Steve Trevor go away. She already was pretty powerful before. She's fine being slight nerfed to essentially get her lover back. Because she still has enough power to do what she needs to do. If anything, it just adds a little bit more suspense to the film and makes it like a little bit more narratively satisfying that she just sometimes takes slight L's. Sure, like there's nothing wrong with that, and she should have just accepted that. I think it's really weird that she's like, "Oh, sometimes I get headaches. Man, sorry, Steve Trevor, I guess you gotta die now. I'm picking between sometimes getting headaches and you dying, and you're all I want in life, but I guess not. I prefer not to get headaches. Bye." Okay, note number 50. How does Wonder Woman change into her outfit so quickly once she gets out of the taxi in Egypt? When rewatching the movie, was looking really hard at when Wonder Woman was in the jet. I was looking really hard at when she was in the taxi before the transformation. She does it like that. It's like ooh, she was wearing it under her outfit the whole time kind of thing, but you don't even really see her get out of the outfit. I don't know how it works. I don't know how she changed that quickly. It's really crazy. They could have foreshadowed it. You could have been able to like see like a little bit of her armor at like earlier scenes, but it seems like you only see that she's wearing the armor under the clothes right as she gets out of the car. There's no hint at that like prior, as far as I could tell from having watched the film twice. Okay, note number 51. The way Wonder Woman landed with those kids would have probably hurt those kids a lot. I'm referring to the scene in Egypt where she like swings off of a missile and grabs the kids. She hits the street like repeatedly, like kid side down, dead kids, or at the very least, very injured kids. I don't think they would have gotten out of that like unscathed at all, but they do because it's a movie. Note number 52. Why is the only guy who knows about the wishing stone a random guy working in a strip mall? What other secrets does he know? He mentioned that he inherited a lot from his grandfather and that's how he kind of knows about it. Who the fuck was his grandfather? How does his grandfather know stuff about that? Is his grandfather some kind of like significant character? This movie is not above having stuff like Simon Stagg and Bialia just be like referenced in the movie straight out. They could have made him somebody. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't have been hard to have just picked some DC character who knows supernatural stuff and just said, it's that person. It's that person in the DCEU. And I thought it was weird that they didn't do that. Seems like it'd be really easy. Or maybe they did. Maybe I fucked up and I missed a reference. Let me know. Comment section below or Discord. Note number 53. What happened when Max Lord's son wished for Max Lord's greatness? He wishes for his dad to be great, and we have no idea what the effect of that wish was. It just kind of happens, and then Max Lord just says thank you. I don't get it. Like I honestly don't understand like what that wish did and how that wish like affected the rest of the movie. But it seems like it'd be important, but it wasn't. Note number 54. Wonder Woman is a researcher for a living, and somehow can't find Hysteria, who is later revealed to just still be active and going around the world and using her powers to help people. And she was like the first Amazon to be like, I'm going to stay on man's world or whatever. How can she not find her? She found Hysteria's armor, but Hysteria is not even hiding her identity. When we see Hysteria at the end of the movie, she straight up says her name is Hysteria to a woman who witnesses her use her powers. And I imagine that must happen a lot, and it must have happened many, many times since she's been stuck on man's world. There aren't enough eyewitness reports of Hysteria doing stuff like that in public places and actively just saying who she is to people for Wonder Woman to find her, even though Wonder Woman's a researcher for a living. That's really weird. Note number 55. Hysteria's armor is supposedly strong enough to take on the whole world, and we see her take on like a whole crowd of dudes just banging against her armor with like swords and shit. But later, the suit of armor is easily and quickly torn to pieces by Cheetah. Cheetah's strong as fuck. Like, I get that Cheetah was strong, right? We see her do like the I lifted like the weight straight above my head, really impressive weightlifting. But she's like ridiculously strong. Like to be able to tear up armor that's supposed to scale up to being attacked by literally the whole world. It's pretty nice. Like just saying, like that's pretty crazy. That's just more of like a power scaling thing. Like does that mean that Cheetah scales to like the entire world? And does that mean that Wonder Woman also scales to the entire world? And that Hysteria kind of scales to the entire world? Again, this is really wild. But let's keep it going. Note number 56. Why does the president just leave top secret plans out while he talks with Max Lord? Like, I get that Max Lord wished to have an audience with the president, but when the president goes, yeah, we can talk, it's weird that he doesn't go, hey, cover up or get rid of the top secret plans that are just here openly in the like office. Like as soon as Max Lord walked in, why didn't they like take the top secret plans out? It's really weird. This is another one of those like insider threat kind of things where it's not an insider threat situation. It's just more of like a, do you guys not know how to like secure secrets? Because this isn't how you secure secrets. Cheetah sleeping in the office overnight? Leaving top secret plans out in the open in the White House? The weird thing. Weird. That's the kind of thing that like gets under my skin. Don't do that. Note 57. Why is Max Lord allowed to get in the president's face and to grab hold of the president's hands? Is no one afraid of Max Lord just being a crazy assassin? He's legitimately just going like, wishes, wishes, magic power, wishes, wishes. He's like grabbing the president and shit, wishes, just staring him in the eye. Where's the Secret Service? You would not be allowed to do that with the president. You can't just fuck around with the president talking about, they're just ranting and raving about magical wishes. You're an insane person. Don't let insane people grab the president. Dun dun dun. Like the more you know, like a rainbow. Note number 58. Max Lord very weirdly makes orgasm noises when he grants wishes. Just pointing that out. Note number 59. Wonder Woman should use her lasso to block bullets more often, as it just seems better than using her bracers. Have you noticed that when Wonder Woman uses her bracers to block bullets, that she has to be like watching where the bullets are and like measuring the trajectory of the bullet and then reacting fast enough to put her bracer in line with the bullet in order to knock the bullets away? Wonder Woman can move faster than the human eye. And she's like, she essentially has everything she needs to aim dodge bullets, where you can see where like the bullet's going and you just move fast enough to get out of the way. And instead of getting out of the way, Wonder Woman actively is like, let me get in the way with my bracer. And that's her like normal way of defending herself. Why not get out of the way or use your lasso to block the bullets? Because she just spins it. She just spins the lasso in front of her, and now it doesn't matter what the trajectory of the bullet is. The lasso covers her whole like surface area where a bullet could hit. It's just like, nope, 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 just blocking all these bullets, just deflecting the bullets away. She should just do that all the time. I don't see, that's much better than trying to do the bracers thing. Or just move. Don't know why she doesn't aim dodge bullets. Note number 60. Wonder Woman uses a bullet to break a vase in front of a guy during the White House fight scene, and that somehow takes down the guy. There's a scene of a guy running, and Wonder Woman cocks a gun. The bullet like shoots up out of the gun. She hits the bullet with her bracers, and then the bullet hits a vase, and the vase like breaks next to a dude. I imagine that like the vase shot glass at the dude or something, but the way we see the dude, it's not like he's cut up and like the glass like shrapnel or whatever. He's just lying out on the ground as if he's like knocked unconscious. Why would that knock him out? Did the vase, like did a piece of the vase fly from it being broken so fast that it like hit him and knocked him out? Like straight up just laid this nigga out from getting hit by a vase? Why did Wonder Woman do that? That seems like a weird way to try and like stop a guy in the first place. I just don't understand like what's happening in that scene. She could have shot him in the leg and that would have just made more sense. Also, real quick, boop 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 boop. Everyone would know who Wonder Woman was. Wonder Woman's just straight up in the fucking White House fighting. She's in the White House fighting. There would be a whole thing about that. You're telling me there are cameras in the mall and there aren't cameras in the fucking White House? Come on. Everyone would know who Wonder Woman was, and that would make news that she was in the White House and she would fight a whole bunch of people. Also, everyone should know who Cheetah is. Ba-dum-bum-ba-da-dum. She fights in the White House against a bunch of Secret Service guys, which is just a crime, to be honest. Cheetah should just go to prison for that. Weird. Dun, 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 dun. Anyways, note number 61. I like that Cheetah is dedicated to wanting to keep her wish. The Cheetah versus Wonder Woman fight at the White House is the best fight in the movie. This is where I say, I get why I said that, but I also am like, when Cheetah gets turned into Cheetah, right? Like full on, I'm like animalistic Cheetah. They kind of fuck that fight up. It kind of starts strong, but Wonder Woman does too much of the like, I'm just blocking the whole fight, I'm just blocking, I'm not really like attacking Cheetah, I'm just blocking. And because the fight is a lot of that, it's kind of like a non-fight. I'll get into that fight later on, but I will say there are parts of that fight that are really good. There are just so many things in that second fight that I feel like they could have not done or done better that make that fight kind of worse than the White House fight. But it's weird because I can say that there are chunks of the second fight that are just kind of better than the first fight. So I don't know. Mixed opinion on that one. Note number 62. I don't think Cheetah actually has a monkey's paw for her wish. I mentioned this earlier. I don't think the wish changed her. I think this is just how Cheetah always was. She just didn't have the power to really just be herself until now. Already kind of mentioned this. Note number 63. There is mass hysteria. Everyone is scared to death of a nuclear apocalypse. This is before everyone gets their wishes later on in the movie. Why doesn't anyone wish to save the world later on when everyone gets wishes? Everyone gets one wish, right? Sirens have already been blaring over the whole, like, yeah, it seems like everybody's going to shoot their nukes or whatever, because that happens before everyone gets their wishes. Everyone's like, the nukes, the world's going to end. Da-da-da-da. If you're telling me that everyone around the world is going to, like, get a wish, and people are scared of a nuclear apocalypse, that no one's just going to wish for the nuclear apocalypse to not be happening? Like, why do you have to renounce your wish to stop the nuclear apocalypse when you could just make your wish to stop the nuclear apocalypse? This is a thing that blows my mind and is like a legitimate issue I have with the movie. Because it just seems like as soon as you give everyone in the world a wish, there'd be somebody who'd wish for, like, I wish everybody's wishes were renounced. Or you have someone who wishes and they're like, I wish I had Maxwell Lord's power. Or someone who wishes to be able to stop the nukes themselves, or just like any other thing. The movie doesn't dwell on the fact that everyone in the world got a wish, even though that's probably the most important thing about the movie. And keeping it $1.50, stealing a line from Optimus, a YouTuber who I am subscribed to, who has some okay content. I don't agree with his takes on everything. But the whole movie should have just started at the wish part. I'm not bullshitting at all. The movie should straight up start, and it's like Max Lord, he's like taking the power of like a wishing stone or whatever, and we don't even have to know that. The movie should straight up just start. There's mass hysteria, the whole world's about to get bombed, and make it where Wonder Woman just doesn't know what's going on, and she has to piece everything together, but she's on a timetable, because if she can't figure it out in time, the whole world's going to blow up, and make it like this crazy mystery where everyone around the world is granting these wishes, and because they're creating obstacles inadvertently that get in Wonder Woman's way as she tries to figure out what's happening. Way more entertaining movie, a great way to start the film off. I would be hype as fuck. Just a good idea. Really would have just preferred that. Just saying. Moving on. Okay. Note 64 is interesting. Someone please go and watch Wonder Woman 1984 and go to the 1 hour, 56 minute, and 9 second mark. And tell me if the cop says what I think he said. Because I went back and I rewatched that scene over and over and over again. And I think he says, we need help. There's chaos out here. Wonder Woman is, I don't know what to do. Like there's a gap between him saying like Wonder Woman is and then him saying I don't know what to do. And I'm like, did a cop just straight up say Wonder Woman in the movie? Because this just goes back to the whole no one knows who Wonder Woman is in the future thing. Speaking of which, Wonder Woman's just straight up outside running around a whole bunch of eyewitnesses in the middle of the street. She also was just at the White House, just straight up a whole bunch of eyewitnesses at the White House, find a whole bunch of dudes. Everyone knows who Wonder Woman is. Just saying. It's bullshit to say that no one knows who Wonder Woman is. Come on. The movie's constantly just putting it in your face. People would have to know who this bitch is. Number 65. Steve Trevor took a guy's body, didn't go to work for days, got in a fight, and then gave the body back to the guy in the middle of the street while the city was suffering from mass hysteria and fear of a nuclear apocalypse. That dude probably lost his job and was scared to death. But later we see him at the end of the movie and he's fine. So, cool, I guess. Don't know how he didn't lose his job. Just another thing, just another weird thing that happened. Note number 66. How does Wonder Woman command the wings of Hysteria's armor as if she actually has wings? This is a thing that I'll just notice in fiction. You'll have characters who have winged armor, but they don't actually have wings. But they're like, yeah, I can like move it and shit. Yeah, I can just control the wings. Like Wonder Woman like lands from flying, and it looks like her wings like are moving. And I'm like, how? How does she? I don't understand how the wings work. Really weird. She also can just shed the wings by like relaxing her shoulders or whatever. She just drops the wings off of her body. How though? How does that work? I don't get it. Also, why is the armor like a pure gold looking armor, even though it's straight up stated to be armor that's made from the metals of all of the other Amazon's armor? Speaking of which, how did the metals of all of the other Amazon armor somehow form together to make like a better metal? Like, why doesn't, like, if you took the metal of a whole bunch of other Amazonians' armor, right? And then you put the metal to make like one suit of armor, wouldn't you, for one, have a ton of excess metal? And two, wouldn't you just have like a normal metal suit? Like, I still don't really understand how the armor works at all. Because it wasn't really explained and it was just in it for the trailer. Ba-dum-bum-ba-dum. Prove me wrong. Just saying. Just seems like it was a cool thing to put in the trailer and in promotional artwork, even though it didn't matter. Didn't matter at all. Grand scheme of the movie. She doesn't really use it for anything. Hey, not like she needs it to block bullets, which is the main thing that she does with it when she goes to fight Max Lord. And Cheetah just rips it apart, so it doesn't really help protect her at all against Cheetah. Not needed, just for the trailer, just for the promotional poster. Poster that you see on screen. We're gonna keep moving. Okay. So, note number 67. How did Max Lord transform Barbara into her Cheetah form by giving her the power, speed, etc. of normal people? How does that transform her into a literal furry Cheetah person? So check this out. I originally misunderstood how Cheetah got her powers. There's a scene where Max Lord says, I'm feeling generous, and then Cheetah says, I want to be like an apex predator. And I thought Cheetah got a second wish. So originally I had like a long rant about like, oh, how did Cheetah get two wishes? No one else gets two wishes. And then I rewatched the movie, and upon the second viewing, I realized he made a monkey's paw to a whole bunch of other people's wishes that Cheetah just gained even more power than before. Still don't know how that turns her into a Cheetah person. The monkey paws don't make any sense, and they're literally just second wishes. Do. Don't get the monkey paw thing at all. Number 68. I don't like the midair swinging fight between Cheetah and Wonder Woman. It didn't really feel like a fight. It felt like a weird Cirque du Soleil performance. Wonder Woman at this point can fly, so it's even weirder that she would just be swinging around with Cheetah during the whole fight. Like, Cheetah actually makes more sense to have to swing on power lines to try and fuck with Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman can fly, but Cheetah can't. So I could see her swinging. Wonder Woman has no reason to be swinging with her lasso. Just fly around and dodge Cheetah, who can't fly. Game. Easy mode. Number 69. A live wire falls into the water with Wonder Woman and Cheetah, which somehow electrocutes and incapacitates Cheetah, but not Wonder Woman, even though Wonder Woman is literally wearing a metal suit and still inside the same water that's being electrified. Why doesn't Wonder Woman just jet out of the water using her flight abilities when the live wire is about to fall into the water? That would have just made more sense. Also, are we expected to believe that Cheetah renounced her wish even though she's actively fighting Wonder Woman earlier in the movie? And Wonder Woman straight up is like, renounce your wish or I'm gonna like beat your ass. And Cheetah's like, nah, that ain't me. I want this wish. I wanted this wish so bad, right? That I like have been actively fighting against you this whole movie and fighting to protect Max Lord. Not gonna renounce my wish. What's the point of renouncing my wish? What is the point of renouncing your wish for most people? I'm gonna say this multiple times in the video. For the people who wished for there to be more bombs, for the people who wished that like there should be like a nuclear apocalypse or something, those are the people who need to renounce their wishes, because their wish is literally gonna lead to the end of the fucking world. Right? People who wish to be like famous or to have superpowers and like shit like that, what's the point of getting rid of your wish? What is your wish actually hurting? What monkey's paws got you like fucked over? I just don't understand why people would renounce their wish. It's really weird. The movie acts like everybody would do it, but you wouldn't do it. There's no way that you would do it. Gross. And like the nigga who wished for a coffee. Why would he renounce his wish? We'll get to that. I have a whole thing about that later. Let's wait. Note number 70. I don't get how Max Lord can hear everyone's wishes when he's broadcasting to the world. I don't get why Max Lord stands in a weird beam after his camera's destroyed. I fucking hate that beam. I don't know why Max Lord can control the wind once he grants enough wishes. Let's talk about the fucking beam, right? What is the beam? Why is there a beam? It's never established before, right? The beam. It's a thing where Wonder Woman destroys the camera trying to like stop the broadcast. And then Max Lord's like, it's too late, Wonder Woman. Everyone's already like granting their wishes or whatever. And then he stands in a beam, which I guess is like the actual broadcast, because he's still like communicating with the world and hearing everybody through the beam. I don't know what the fucking beam is. They never explain stuff in the movie. How does the fucking beam work? It's just weird. It's like, why wasn't he standing in the beam before if that's the actual broadcasting thing? I just don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. And it's something where it's like you can easily just ignore it, I guess. But no, you shouldn't. That's really important to the movie that he can like still broadcast this beam. Because that's how Wonder Woman convinces everyone to renounce their wish, is using the same beam. I don't know what that beam is. Please, someone tell me what the beam was. Okay, cool. Note number 71. I don't get how Wonder Woman's whisper speech at the end is somehow broadcast to everyone, and I don't get how it convinces everyone to renounce their wish. I get that she was using her lasso, so the message was spread through her lasso or some shit into the beam, because you see that like everyone, when they look at their TV screens, they see like the gold glow of the lasso, which shows that the beam definitely is still broadcasting information somehow, because that's how the beam works, I guess. So everyone's seeing a gold light, and they're hearing like Wonder Woman's voice. Also, everyone would remember that. No one would ever forget that, and some people would probably think Wonder Woman was God. No cap. People would definitely think that. Keep moving. I don't understand. I don't understand how the beam works. I don't understand how her lasso works to communicate her whisper message. Also, she's whispering from across the room. Max Lord is actively screaming. He's screaming like as loud as he can. And Wonder Woman's whispering across the room, and her message is somehow broadcast like loud and clear. Again, I guess due to lasso beam bullshit. But it's weird that none of that makes sense. Like none of it is explained, kind of thing. You have to, like, if it's how she wins, tell me how the message is getting through the beam, and tell me how the beam is actually like sending messages. Anyways, 72. It doesn't make sense that this apocalyptic scenario wouldn't be mentioned again in movies like Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Justice League. Shouldn't everyone after the year of 1984 know that magic exists? Wouldn't you assume if like Superman randomly showed up that he would somehow have to do with that time where everyone got a wish granted? There are like so many questions. There's so many fucking questions. Like, wouldn't Max Lord write a book after this and be like, hey, that one time I like had a bunch of wishes granted. You remember that? He couldn't keep it secret. Everyone would have saw his ass on TV. This is a time where people had like VHS tapes. You're telling me no one would have recorded the Max Lord broadcast? You're telling me no one would have recorded, like, even just the news, like the mass hysteria in the streets and people's wishes being granted left and right? Come fucking on. World event affected literally everybody. When crazy shit happens, the first thing you would compare it to is that one time in 1984 where the world almost ended and everybody got magic wishes. Get off my dick. Note number 73. Why isn't there a war that breaks out after the 1984 catastrophe that literally almost led to world annihilation? No cap, right? Everybody almost got nuked. Everybody almost got nuked. And it got undone because people like renounced their wishes. You wouldn't feel safe. No one would feel safe. You were literally a minute away from the whole world getting nuked. That would have huge repercussions. There'd be a magical arms race, my nigga. People would be like, magic's real. A wish thing just happened. We all heard a gold light tell us we need to renounce our wishes. Some people straight up witness themselves use the power of wishes to take people's lives. Come on. Come on. The whole world would change after that event. That's so weird. Number 74. Wouldn't everyone know about the power of wishes? Wouldn't everyone remember the whole time the world almost got nuked? It's essentially what I just said. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Rule number 73 and 74 are pretty much the same thing. Note 75. I don't know why Max Lord doesn't consider saving his son until he is tied up in the lasso of truth. Max Lord, you know that the whole world's getting nuked. Because that happens before you even go to the broadcast studio. The sirens go off and they're like, there's going to be nuclear war, the bombs are flying or whatever. Like, people already know that prior to that scene. Why don't you make a monkey's paw to somebody's wish that, like, the whole world doesn't get nuked? Easy game. Easy game. Super simple idea. Not capitalized on. Weird. Really weird. Okay, jumping back. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, number 76. Why would everyone renounce their wish? I already mentioned that. Number 77. Why would a kid renounce their wish? You gotta keep in mind, children probably wish for shit like, my imaginary friend to be real, or I wish I had superpowers, or I wish my favorite, like, fictional character came into the real world, or I wish for toys, or I wish Santa Claus would come visit me, or I wish my dad would come back home. Kids can make wishes. We know that kids can make wishes. The whole world would change, and kids would not renounce their wish for shit. You know how hard it is to convince a child to put a toy on the shelf when you're not gonna buy it for them? Do you have like a niece or a nephew who's like gone to the store with you and picked up an action figure and they just refuse to put the bitch back on the shelf even though you're not gonna buy it? I'm telling you, if you gave a kid one wish where they could wish for fucking anything and you told them to get rid of the wish, that kid would not obey you for shit. Miss me. No kid would renounce their wish. Bullshit thing. Number 78. Why would people who wish for fame and wish to be kings and wish to be popular renounce their wish? I already mentioned that. I already said that earlier. Speaking of which, we get to see one guy who wishes to be king and we see him renounce his wish. We never saw what his wish did. Like when he wished to be king, we cut away from him and we cut back to that guy. He's renouncing his wish. What happened when he became king? He's like in the same position he was before when he wished to be king, when he renounces being king. What would be the point of that? That's really weird. I don't understand. And does that mean that he was king for that whole period? And then he renounced it? King of what? King of where? What did he get? He has like a whole story that happens within like the span of like a few minutes that we just skip. And I'm very curious to see like what happened. Note number 79. The armor and Wonder Woman lassoing lightning were just in the movie to be included in the trailers. Wonder Woman lassos lightning for like 2 seconds. The Wonder Woman armor doesn't do anything. It's just trailer bait. Prove me wrong. Post in the comments and post in the Discord. Number 80. Did the wishing stone come back when Max Lord renounced his wish? Keep in mind, when Max Lord wished to become the stone kind of like turned to dust, and then Max Lord became the stone. So if he renounces his wish, does that mean that the stone dust like rematerializes and then the stone comes back? Because you think it would just undo that, right? He's no longer the wishing stone, but that should mean that the wishing stone's back. I don't think the wishing stone's gone. I think it's still there, like somewhere in the DCU. Number 81. Why is no one punished for their crimes in this movie except for the jewelry thieves at the beginning of the movie? Maxwell Lord is not shown going to prison. Cheetah is not shown going to prison. No one goes to jail as far as I'm concerned, like as far as like we see in the movie, for like wishing for people to die and shit like that. Like there are tons of like crazy things that happen in this film and no one gets in trouble for it. Weird. Number 81. Already read that. Number 82. The happy Christmas scene at the end of the movie was weird. The movie is like a 4th of July movie with multiple references to 4th of July. Even when they're in the mall, you can tell that it's like around the time of the 4th of July. It's like a summertime 4th of July movie. Because Wonder Woman 84 was released on Christmas, there's a stupid ass Christmas scene at the end of the movie that doesn't feel like it fits anywhere in the film. It's just there so that it can technically be a Christmas film. Get off my dick. It's not a Christmas film. I don't know why that scene's there. And it feels like it drags for too long. Like when I watch that scene, I'm like, the movie's already over. Like, is something gonna happen in the Christmas scene? And then she sees the dude that Steve Trevor was in the body of, who she essentially raped, because that guy didn't consent to getting body swapped or to smash Wonder Woman. And the dude and her have like a little bit of banter, and then the dude just kind of leaves. And they're like, maybe Wonder Woman gets with that dude again. Who knows? It's like, don't have that scene if it's not going to be conclusive. And it's a time skip. Like, if you really wanted to do that, they should have done a thing where Wonder Woman was just on a date with the guy during the Christmas time. That actually, I think, would have made a lot more sense. It would have been months since all the bullshit happened, and it could have been believable that during that time skip, they could have, like, gotten together, and maybe they're just, like, dating. Would have been fine. Weird scene. Feels like it doesn't fit in the movie, especially since the scene after it seems to jump back to, like, a more summertime-looking environment anyways, and it's Wonder Woman like flying through the clouds, and she hears like a police siren, and she goes to like save the day. Weird like jump. When does that scene take place? Like when she's flying? Was that like back before the Christmas scene, or was it a particularly warm day in Washington D.C., which is cold as fuck if you've ever been to Washington D.C.? Just saying. Weird. Moving on. Number 83. So Linda Carter as Hysteria is an interesting idea, but it begs the question of where Hysteria has been and why she hasn't been getting involved with all the like world events that have happened. So this point isn't talking about superhero stuff. Just like, where was Hysteria during World War One? Where was Hysteria during World War Two? Where was Hysteria during the events of Wonder Woman 1984? Where was Hysteria during the events of, like, Man of Steel? Where was Hysteria during Batman v Superman? Where was Hysteria during, like, really any of the superhero movies where you just think a superpowered person who's been helping people around the world for years, like she says at the end of the movie, would be, kind of thing. That's technically 2 points. I was trying to stick to real world events, and then I moved into, like, the, like, movie events. The movie events is actually number 84. Dun, 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 dun. That's like 84 plus notes on the Wonder Woman 1984 movie after watching the film twice. Thank you all for watching. This is actually like almost as long as the movie, if not longer than the movie, if you guys were to watch all these notes. But definitely let me know your thoughts on the notes in the comment section below and on the Discord. Thank you all for watching. If you guys like this video, make sure to smash that like button, favorite, comment, subscribe, and ding, 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 ring that notification bell to be notified whenever I do these videos. This is your host, your friend, your boy, Jet Black the One Only, logging out. Peace, guys. Chicka da gawa. Chicka bow.